Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bob Hoffman from the Master Circle Global, and I have a really important and interesting guest that you definitely want to pay attention to. In just a moment, I'm going to be interviewing Rowena Gates. She is part of NanoVi, and I got to tell you, we just had our super conference in Buckhead, Georgia last week. And every single time I walked by their booth, there was a line of people doing the NanoVi work, lining up, waiting for their turn, getting unbelievable feedback, unbelievable results. And Rowena, I'm really excited to share more of this with people in our database, our profession. Can you just give us a short snippet of what NanoVi is and really what it does to prevent and reverse cellular damage?
Sure. NanoVi is working through the cellular water. It's leveraging water science and biophysics to adjust the water in the cells in a way that makes it possible for proteins to fold more readily. And they're doing all the work in the body. So supporting the environment, which is the water, helps the body take over and do everything it needs to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is something that everybody needs. Some people need it more than others, more intensely or more frequently than others. But we all want to prevent and reverse cellular damage. All of us that are committed to being the healthiest versions of ourselves, all of us who are committed to aging gracefully versus growing old, this is a really important issue. I'm curious from your perspective, what areas of chiropractic care benefit the most by incorporating NanoVi into their practice?
Well, I think there's many areas people notice it with structural work because tissue can be more receptive. However, an interesting area is all of the metabolic aspects like weight loss, that chiropractors are stepping into that void a bit and helping people in those areas. And also mitochondrial function and rejuvenation, where you can measure that with VO2 max, for example, and the difference that the NanoVi makes even in a single session. And so any of those areas are helpful. And then another aspect that really dovetails well is the inflammation that many chiropractic services are, inflammation plays a role, and in reduction of inflammation can be really helpful.
Beautiful. All of that is important, but I want to focus in a little bit more on the mitochondrial issue. One of the prime philosophical tenets of chiropractic is that the power that made the body is the power that's going to heal the body. And yet, in today's super stress world, people's energy level, for lack of a better term, Rowena, their body battery, their brain battery is so diminished that they're not healing quickly, they're not healing completely. And this is a huge problem. And we all know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse, the energy source. Every cell has mitochondria. And if the mitochondria are dysfunctioning, we're going to have a problem. Most of the
Correct.
research I read is that people under age 40, about 50% of them have mitochondrial dysfunction. And people over age 40, which includes me, 100% of them have mitochondrial dysfunction. So how does the chiropractor use NanoVi to improve mitochondrial function so that the power that made the body could heal the body more efficiently?
Well, they incorporate it with other services they're offering or as a standalone service. And so as little as 15 or 20-minute NanoVi session is going to have a measurable impact on the indicators of mitochondrial function, like the respiratory exchange ratio and oxygen utilization and so on, so that we know that you're getting that benefit. And in most cases, they will use the NanoVi after treatment as a restorative function. But if a chiropractor is doing anything that's stressing the body and the person needs a little extra help, a little more tolerance, they can be supported by doing the NanoVi session in advance of that care.
So for people who are not familiar with NanoVi, is it something fit? I mean, I know the answer because I just saw it, but is it something physical that they have to do? Is it something where they're sitting? Does it take a long time? Could you try to help me make what seems invisible to many of the people watching this more visible?
Oh, sure. So the NanoVi sits on a desktop. It's about a foot square at the base, and it has a tube coming out of it, and that tube can go right in front of your nose, like just to breathe directly from it. It's a paper disposable tube, or you can insert a cannula into the end of the tube, and that lets you use a nasal cannula, which many people do that in a practice because that way the person can move around and they know they still have the session. But if they're lying on their back and they're still, or even sitting still, they can breathe directly from the tube if that's preferable.
And is this something that they do just for a few minutes? Is this something they do once a month or once a day? What's the ideal here?
Well, more, for most of us, I'm like so for most of us, more is kind of better because the body can really use that support. We have a lot of oxidative stress and oxidative damage that accumulates from all aspects of life. And so most of us can use it a great deal. However, almost all of our testing is done before and after a single session. And so even if it's only used once, it's measurable and very clearly, double-blind placebo control confirmed that it's beneficial to you with just one session. So in a practice, if people can come back, ideally several times a week, that's preferable. But if they only make it in once a week or once every 2 weeks, it's still a valuable tool to give them. And it's sort of this de-stress and refresh aspect because one of the big areas I should have mentioned when you asked about the areas of chiropractic is functional neurology or anything related to brain performance. And also related to that is just calming down the autonomic nervous system. And so for many patients, especially if they're stressed about their condition, then having the NanoVi session to settle them down can be a really great way to start into therapy so they're more responsive to it.
So doing one 15-minute or so NanoVi session will take them out of sympathetic dominance and re-engage their parasympathetic healing autonomic nervous system.
Yes, with continuous monitoring, it shows up usually around minute 7, 8, 9. Around there is when you see the sympathetic system plummet. And then it takes longer for the parasympathetic to build. And so that's going to be more like minute 14 or 15. So even if you can't do more than the 10 minutes, you can at least get them out of that sympathetic state.
Which is critical because, as you know, when someone is in fight flight, when they're in defense physiology, it's almost impossible for healing to take place.
Right. And any of those treatments, they just go better and the person has a better outcome and feel better, which is of course good for everybody. It's a win-win.
So it helps with musculoskeletal conditions, it helps with neurological conditions, it helps with mitochondrial conditions. So no matter how the chiropractor is practicing, no matter what techniques they have, what type of patients they're attracting, this is a universal tool for everyone to get healthier, to be less stressed autonomically, to recover faster, to rejuvenate faster, to slow down the aging process. To me, it's a no-brainer, no pun intended.
Well, exactly, because what you said when we first started is the body heals itself. That's the whole point. And so it can have a broad spectrum of influences because the body does all these amazing things. And the role of NanoVi is to just give it a boost, to give it a little help, and then let the body take over. And so if it's, inflammation, immune system, digestion, it doesn't matter what it is, the body's got its own mechanisms to heal things. And that's why it's, as you said, it's like kind of all over the map because that's how the body heals.
Yep. And I know from the perspective of what's best in class, obviously when I'm making recommendations or endorsing things, I'm always looking for what produces predictable clinical outcomes. NanoVi does that, but also what is a significant profit center that the doctor doesn't him or herself actually have to do, but their trained staff can actually do. And NanoVi checks off all of those boxes. So if people watching and listening to this want to learn more or see what NanoVi actually is, or to find out what it costs or how much you charge for it in the practice, to see how it becomes a profit center and a healing center, how would someone learn more? How do they follow up with the company or with you personally?
Well, they're welcome to follow up with me personally, Rowena Gates. And then the company is eng3.com, which is eng3.com. Product is NanoVi. And there's quite a lot of information at the website. There's also the way to log in there. And our company only sends out things like study results or the pricing and the study results, but we don't send out just pure marketing, and we don't send things constantly. So it is safe to log in there. And that would put you into receiving the emails where we do provide the study results. There are things we cannot publish online, but we can send them out on the request if somebody signs in.
Beautiful.
And so
Beautiful.
I think that's always helpful to people because everybody wants to know that, this is verified.
Yes. Well, I know it is because I've read a lot of the reports and the research, but even more important for me, I have quite a few of my clients who use it in their practice with consistent, predictable, excellent outcomes. I know that it is a huge profit center for them. And for anyone watching or listening to this, I'm going to urge you to either follow up directly with Rowena or get onto Eng3 and learn more, but follow up on this. Our world is changing rapidly. We don't have to fall victim to that. We could stay ahead of the curve. NanoVi is one of those things that every chiropractor, regardless of your philosophy or your adjusting skills or the types of patients you attract, would clearly benefit from on multiple levels. Please find out more about it. Get your hands on one. Start using it yourself. You're going to be blown away by the improvement you see and feel, and so will your patients. Rowena, thank you so much again for your precious time. I really appreciate it. I love our relationship with the company. Your company, as you know, Eng3, that produces the NanoVi, is a gold sponsor of the Master Circle Global. We're proud to have you as a gold sponsor. And again, all the feedback, 100% of the feedback I've received so far has been absolutely positive and glowing. And I'm urging people to find out more and start using this great technology.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have been invited, and we appreciate being there and all of your members. It's a great experience for our company to have any association with you. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Have yourself a great day, okay?